how Biden's executive order aims to reduce gun violence. Let's take a look.
He hopes will reduce gun violence in the U.S.
The president will outline this measure while visiting Monterey Park, California today. A mass shooting shocked that Los Angeles suburb less than 2 months ago. A gunman killed 11 people and wounded 9 others following a Lunar New Year celebration.
Joining us now is CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, thanks very much for being with us. So, among other things, this latest executive order seeks to make it more difficult for people to get their hands on guns. What about legally? Will this stand up to potential legal challenges?
It's a good question, Elaine. We're not entirely certain because, in part because so far what we understand to be in this executive order is a little vague. But basically, what it's doing is reinforcing what Congress passed last year. Remember that bipartisan legislation they passed in the wake of the Uvalde shooting and the shooting in Buffalo. In essence, making sure that background checks are conducted on the kinds of sort of private or smaller level gun sales that maybe an antique dealer does to a buyer or that happens on the sidelines of a gun show. By making sure that those background checks happen, it at least adds one more layer of protection. You could conceivably see some kind of a small-time gun dealer, somebody who does this casually, or again, maybe is just an antique dealer, trying to introduce a lawsuit that suggests that this infringes on their Second Amendment right.
That's it, folks. Joe Brandon doesn't care about the mom and shop death dealers. That's right. What about the mom and shop gun sales persons? Nobody cares about small businesses no more. Woke leftists at it again. They hate us because they ain't us. They hate small business because small businesses are the backbone of fighting against the gay agenda.
Rights, but remember that the legislation passed with bipartisan support in part because Democrats and Republicans believed it didn't do that and would withstand legal challenge.
Well, speaking of the schism between Democrats and Republicans obviously controlling the House. Is there any chance, Ed, that any more legislative action might be taken to reduce gun violence beyond that bipartisan measure that you're talking about?
It was so difficult to string together the equation or the formula that brought together, especially in the Senate, the Republicans and Democrats needed to do it, that it would be difficult to see what more could potentially be done absent some unforeseen disaster or tragedy that compels Congress to act yet again. And remember, advocates said this is impressive and it's good to see the most substantive legislation in decades past, but it doesn't go nearly as far as gun control advocates would like. And so we'll have to wait and see. Where there does seem to be sort of a bipartisan agreement that more needs to be done is in the realm of police reform or criminal justice reform more broadly. That doesn't necessarily have to do with gun violence specifically, unless for whatever reason the policing community suggests to Congress that there needs to be more done to protect cops who face these deadly weapons on the streets every day.
Ed, it was just last month that I was in Michigan, in Lansing specifically, when Michigan State University students marched there in protest after a mass shooting at their school. And they were demanding action from state officials, from federal officials. Can you talk a bit more about the political forces at work here when we see this action taken by President?
Okay, this stuff is boring. I'm moving away. Whenever the CoffeeZilla video, I feel like